A new report coming out today on exactly what the Democrats did wrong with their get out the vote efforts in 2024. Hello and welcome to the Communiverse. I'm your host, TJ Walker. This is where we analyze and decode and demystify how issues and businesses and political organizations communicate to the world. So, a new study coming out analyzing the Democrats' problem from 2024 elections. Now, they spent nearly $2 billion trying to get the vote out of their base voters for the election in 2024. And by all accounts, didn't do much, didn't really help at all. In fact, in many cases, no demonstrable results for all that money. So, what's gone wrong? Now, I've worked in the political field as a communicator for decades, and I do sense a massive, massive shift. The days of winning votes by knocking on doors has been replaced by this, a cell phone. We live in a world where voters are bombarded every second of the day with messages, many of them political. The average voter in America now receives, like anyone else, about 10,000 messages a day. If you factor in every ad, every marketing image, every radio ad, every message that comes through a TikTok video or a YouTube or Facebook post. So we as humans are just getting absolutely bombarded. The result is, forget about election day. A month before the election, most people are decided. The number of voters who are undecided about who to vote for has never been smaller than in 2024. The number of people who are undecided about voting has also gone down. Here's my analysis of exactly what's happening. I'm giving it to you straight, objective analysis as a communications expert. In the last few decades, and especially in the last 9 years, there has been a massive, massive onslaught of messaging that's done two things. Number one, it's convinced a huge swath of Americans, especially younger Americans, that both parties are so corrupt, so awful, that all politicians are so evil that they should just sit at home on their hands. I'm not suggesting this is accurate or true or good for the democracy, but I can tell you with absolute certainty that has happened. So there's been a consistent message of negativity through every social media post. Oh, you think my guy's bad? Yours is 1,000 times worse. And this has escalated to the point where so many Americans have simply tuned out and said, a pox on both of your houses. Well, this may have been someone who voted for a particular party, in this case, the Democratic Party, in previous elections, and they've simply said, I'm out. I'm no longer playing the game, rightly or wrongly. The other factor that I see is that people are so bombarded with nationalized messages that local messages, people you used to listen to, people you used to respect, a local precinct chairman. I don't even know anyone who knows who their precinct chairman is anymore. Those voices are no longer having an impact. Whether it's a thought leader of a local editorial, well, certainly local newspapers themselves don't really exist much anymore, much less editorials having any influence. What I have seen is the nationalization of political communication. I know in my own local Starbucks, when I hear people talking about politics, I estimate 99% of the time I'm hearing them deliver a message that is a reworked, revised issue or version of what they heard a national political pundit say. Someone they saw on one of their favorite nationalized political TV news networks, or someone whose website is only looking at politics through a national lens, through a highly ideological lens. So the problem for the Democrats, each party has particular problems. No one has a monopoly on all power or all votes these days, although the Republicans are doing very well controlling the White House, the Supreme Court, the United States House of Representatives and the U.S. Senate. They're doing well. They certainly don't have a monopoly at all levels of government throughout the United States. But the problem the Democrats have right now is, what good is it to have someone write you a personal letter saying, vote for our guy, or knock on the door, have you voted for our guy or our gal, as the case may be, if that individual voter has already been overwhelmed with information saying anyone in your party is too extreme in one direction, anyone in your party is anti-American or pro-socialism or pro-capital or pro-Castro and anti-capitalism. People in your party are anti-police, are pro-criminal. These messages have been bombarded on voters, especially in this case, as we're talking about Democratic voters, for so long that regardless of the truth, and that's not going to be the purview of what we get into here, it's repeated so often, it's just pounded away into the consciousness. So even many Democratic voters who might be sympathetic to their candidate just feel overwhelmed. Like, what's the use? I mean, my candidate's no good. The other team is right. I might not like the other team, but my team really is too extreme. Regardless of the facts, that has become a mindset. So my advice to Democrats, if you're trying to get the vote out, you can't work that far downstream. You've got to work further upstream. It's an upstream problem. It's not the information voters are receiving the day of the election or the weekend before the election or even the month before the election. It's the information they are receiving every single day about your candidates. You're simply going to have to get better at selling a positive vision about what the Democratic Party stands for, whether that you embrace the abundance philosophy as popularized by the author and New York Times columnist Ezra Klein, whether you're endorsing a Bernie Sanders version or what other version, you're going to have to spend time really selling a positive vision for what you stand for. And you're going to have to spend more time in a clear, focused way saying what's wrong with the other party and the leaders of the other party in a way that resonates with voters, not only your own voters, but moderate voters, independent voters, undecided voters. It's got to be a good bad. Now, the world is complicated. I realize that. But if you want to succeed in politics, you have to communicate more the way a Marvel comic book movie does, an action figure comic book movie, not my dinner with Andre of sitting around having intellectual conversations. So that is what the Democratic Party will have to do, because the other party is already good at that. Whatever you think of the failings, and there are many of both parties, one failing the Republican Party does not have, it's very, very good at saying, here's why the other team is bad. Here's what's wrong with the Democrats. Here's what's good about us. They're very good at that fundamental principle of communication. You have to simplify, you have to focus attention, and you have to have clarity of message, and you have to focus on repetition. So before the Democrats spend any more money, or certainly $2 billion more and get out the vote, they've got to first arm the minds of their voters with more compelling ideas as to exactly what they're voting for and what they're voting against.